Welcome to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati Spine Procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Now here along with Dr. Bonati, your host, Kimberly Bermel.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bermel, joined by our executive radio producer, Ethan Euchre.
How's it going?
Very good. And across from me, I have world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. Thank you for being here, sir.
Hi.
A man of few words.
He is.
He is.
So humble. Just to give you some insight about Dr. Bonati, he started off in invasive open back surgery when it first started, and he went to, Wake Forest University. And
Demon Deacons, huh? Doc, you went to Wake Forest? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, he went through that training and, total textbook training. And when he went to actually perform the surgeries, they realized that there were some problems with that procedure, and it wasn't always correcting what it needed to for the patient. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, he set out to try to develop ways to make back surgery better. And what he ended up doing was formulating the Bonati Spine Procedures. It took him a while, but he not only developed the procedures, but the tools to exactly pinpoint the problem and relieve pain for thousands of people.
Dr. Bonati is one of those guys, as long as I've known him, and we're coming up on a year that I've known him, he's one of those guys in just every aspect of his life.
Yes.
He thinks big. He has vision.
Yes.
And, if he sees a problem, he can fix it.
Yes.
And that's exactly what he did with the industry and revolutionized the whole industry. Why are you looking at me like that?
Of spine surgery forever.
It's true, Doc. Take a compliment.
He gets embarrassed, and
I
he's
know.
one to never pat himself on the back. And actually, that can almost be to his detriment, because I have seen firsthand the multitude of patients that he has helped.
Mm-hmm.
Some wheelchair bound, and then they're able to walk out. People come in with leg braces, and they, of course, leave without them. So amazing things happen at the Bonati Spine Institute with those exclusive Bonati Spine procedures.
Yeah. Week after week, we talked to patients
Yes.
that, they didn't have a lot of hope. They were told by other doctors, other quote-unquote experts, that
Yes.
there was nothing that could be done, that they would just basically have to exist in pain for the rest of their life. Here's some pills, have a pain-filled life. And then they sought out Dr. Bonati and the Bonati Spine Institute, and the guy he literally works miracles and can, how do you say it? Well, it's our Back to Life segment,
Yes.
but you always say continued pain-free existence, because,
Yes.
these people, they had no hope, and then just to go from that to, a normal life once again is pretty amazing.
Yes. Well, on today's show, we're going to hear from a medical expert, Dr. James Pinkney from Diamond Physicians, about how to curb youth sports injuries, which is pertinent because school's back in session. And then we're going to hear about what's new in American medicine today. But up first...
In today's Back to Life segment, we will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
Well, I would like to welcome to the program Angelo Sapia. He is on the phone from Pennsylvania, so thank you for being here to join us today.
Thank you.
Well, Angelo, you have a fascinating story, so why don't you kind of talk about how you came to be in pain?
Oh, how I came to be in pain when I was very young, very young, I think, 26, and I was working on a chair, and I was rewebbing a lawn chair, and I happened to be underneath of an air conditioner, a big monster air conditioner. And I stood up while under it, and it caught me right at the L5S1 and simply induced a spondylolisthesis.
For the layperson, break down what that means. Where it's the lower back, correct?
You broke apart you broke your facets, I believe, and it separates your spine, so you're really not connected anymore.
So what happened as soon as that happened, Angelo? You stood up, caught your back on an AC unit. I mean, did it
and then
drop you to the ground?
I whited out or blacked out, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And but I didn't think I just thought I cut myself because I had a nice cut too.
Right.
And so as as time went on and I went back to work, I noticed that I felt like my chest was falling off of my hips. And I actually said that to a couple doctors.
Right.
And after I went to about 10 of them, all of them unable to find it, I came across a guy named Dr. Filtzer. And he was in Baltimore, and he made me twist like a pretzel for about 30 different x-rays, and he actually figured out what it was, put me in the hospital. Then he wanted to give me a fusion, wanted to cut the edges of my hips off, connect them to the top of my hips, and run it to above the break.
What?
An A-frame, basically.
How is that? How is that supposed to fix your issue?
Well, because he would have fused all those together, and it would have worked sort of, I guess, but I didn't like the point of losing my hips. Number one,
Right.
They brought a jockey. They showed me a jockey while I was in the hospital, and as soon as I saw him at the door, he was a string bean. Basically, he had no
Right.
hips, and being 18 years old, I was really. That didn't go over well in my mind.
I'm sure.
I mean, being 26 years old, I didn't go over well in my mind. I was a beach kind of guy. I go. My family goes to the beach, and I live at the beach and work at the beach, and did all that. And I just thought I'll never have another woman the rest of my life if I look like that.
And you definitely don't want to feel like that when you're in your early 20s, for sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that really. So I told him no. So he built me a brace. And I used that, and I did a lot of crunches over my life. I used to do my 100 a day to keep myself in shape. I basically had a 12-pack most of my life. I had to. There was no other way for me to keep myself together. But when I got around 40 years old or so, I could do 1,000 of those crunches, and it didn't seem to matter anymore. My muscles weren't what they used to be.
Right.
So I looked for a solution, something other than something barbaric.
Right.
And I found these cages to screw in, and I had that all set up. I was going to go to California to see a Dr. Black, and my wife had just happened to fall down and hurt her knee, so she had to get her meniscus repaired. And while we went to that hospital to do so, she's a nurse and works there, incidentally. And she said, "You should ask this doctor about your back." And I asked him, and I told him what I was going to do with the cages in California. And he said, "Why are you going to California?" He says, "The guy that invented the cages is here at St. Joe Hospital." He says, "Named Paul McAfee." And I said, "Really?" So he said, so I canceled my operation, and I went to see Paul McAfee, and he said, "Oh, well, those cages are a great thing. Those are a great thing." He says from L4 and up, it's a 98% success rate, and that's what I had read. That's why I was there. He said, "I also did the clinical trials. I also did the clinical failures." And he says, and anywhere from L4 and down, he said it seemed to be about a 90% failure rate.
Wow.
He said, "You don't want that surgery." So I was flabbergasted. So I said to him, "Well, what do I want?" And then he barreled out this little spine that was all bolted together and said, "This is what you want." And I went, No, I didn't want that. That's what I was trying to get away from."
Why would you want that?
Right.
So, Angelo, let me just back up for a quick second. So, you're talking at this point in the narrative, you're in your 40s. So this happened. So you lived in pain for 20 years with this, and just tried to maintain it.
But I did very well. I was very in shape. You had to stay. If your core is in good shape, your back is strong.
Right.
I mean, even if you had broken back, right now I'm basically where we'll get to that.
All right, so the guy brings out a spine that's all caged up and fused up
together with a couple, metal pieces and screws, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. And he says, because it's L5 to S1, that's the part that moves the most. You got to have something big and strong for you, and nothing else is going to really work.
Right.
So I said, yeah, okay, and I didn't do it. And so about 3 months later, I decided to give the guy a call and ask him a question. And I actually got his number to where he scrubbed up before he went into the surgery. And I talked to him there. He was wondering how I got the number. I had a friend in his office.
Right.
Anyway, but turned out that I said, "Doc, if this was your back, would you get that operation?" And he said, "In a New York second."
Really?
And I said, "Thank you, Doc. That's all I need to know. I'm going to schedule." So I took his word for it, and I scheduled and got the surgery in 2001, May.
Okay.
It was great. I mean, the surgery worked wonderful for three years.
Right.
Until 2004.
What
In
happened?
2004, something moved in my back, something popped.
Okay.
I don't know what it was, and I was in terrible pain, could hardly move.
What were you
literally.
doing at the time when it popped?
Oh, I was actually working on something. I was standing on a ladder,
Ooh.
and I was pushing on the roof. And I wasn't doing it hard. I mean, it was gutter helmet. I don't know if you
Right.
ever know what that stuff is. You were putting it over top. I was putting it over top my gutter.
Right.
It's quite not a physical thing. I mean, a little push, yeah, but I mean, how it happened, why it happened, I have no idea. But anyway, so after that happened, I got taken to the back to my doctor that did the fusion, and he said, "Oh," and he did me X-rays and this, and he said, "Oh, it's scar tissue."
Right.
And I said, "Scar tissue?" I said, "What do you mean scar tissue?" He said, "Well, scar tissue will form in there and blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, you never," and it's very common and so forth. And I told him, "You never told me this before the surgery." I said, "You didn't tell me any of that. You told me I was going to have a strong, healthy back for the rest of my life." That's the exact words came out of your mouth, and it was.
And so
That's one part I didn't tell you.
this was just 3 years after your surgery that you had a recurring injury to something that was supposed to have been
I had
fixed.
pain. I didn't know what it was. I had no clue.
Right. Okay, well, listen, Angelo, we're up against a quick break, so just hang on. We'll get into the rest of your story, how you found Dr. Bonati, and get to where you are today. It's a pretty fantastic story. Kimberly, if people want to get in touch with the Bonati Spine Institute, how do they do so?
Well, they can reach out at 855-267-0483 or visit Bonati.com if you or someone you know is suffering from back pain. After the break, we're going to hear more from patient Angelo Sapia. When we return, you're listening to American Medicine Today on News Radio 970, WFLA. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati Spine Procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati Spine Procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years, and it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results, no pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now, I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.